2, can you read that one?
Typical bully, can't take a pound of criticism after slinging 100 pounds of BS. Up to article number 4 now. You'd think he'd have better things to do.
And then this last one on the page, which is also on 618.
That one says, looking forward to lying smear piece number 4 by @JGermanRJ, hashtag one trick pony. I think he's mad that I haven't crawled into a hole and died.
Now putting on the overhead what's been admitted as states 353E. Looks like some more social media posts.
Yes, ma'am.
And that one is from June the 17th of 2022, is that correct?
Correct.
And what does that one say?
It says, does the @LVRJ know that @JGermanRJ may be doing double duty on their dime? Do they know that he basically made a veiled threat to take me down, or take down my site, with the truth after I had already lost the election?
And then there's like a screenshot, I guess, of
text messages. Yes.
Messages between himself and Gehrman.
That is correct.
And at least you probably, can you see all of that one, where Gehrman responds?
Yes.
What does that say?
In the long response there?
Yeah.
It says, Rob, I'm putting together another story on your office. This has to do with the letter you posted on your campaign website addressing the hostile work allegations. Employees view that as a threat of retaliation and have reported it to Human Resources. I would like to get your comments on that as well as your take on the election results so far. I would need something from you this afternoon.
Okay. And are you also aware of a letter that Mr. Tellis posted on his website, sort of answering some of the things that were alleged in those articles?
Yes, ma'am.
And let me see if I can get that. Sarah, did you already do that? Okay. Does that appear to be the letter?
Correct.
And this is, for the record, 338.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. And that was posted on Mr. Tellis's website?
Yes, ma'am. I think it was his campaign website.
Campaign website. Yes. And I'm sorry, but could you switch it back over? Thank you. I'm going to put on the overhead states 353F. Is this a non-moving version of that letter?
That appears so, yes.
Okay. And fair to say the letter disputes several of the allegations that Mr. Gehrman wrote about in his articles?
That's correct.
Now, you do research and you learn about the kind of tension between Mr. Gehrman and Mr. Tellis. Do you also, in the course of the investigation, learn that of any more information about the vehicle?
Yes, we did.
And do you learn that Mr. Tellis's wife has a Yukon Maroon in the same type and model as is seen in the video around Bronze Circle?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, at some point, is there an effort made to gather a lot of video?
Yeah, yes, there was. And
can you kind of describe what that process was that that detectives and yourself went to get that level of video?
So with this, actually, we ended up kind of employing other patrol detectives to help us because it was that extensive. Typically, we go to the last place that we know that either the image of the vehicle or the image of the person was seen, and we almost kind of like just leapfrog down the street. We'll make a game plan ahead of time, even just knowing major cross streets, if there's businesses there, businesses that we've pulled video from before, so sometimes we have like previous contacts to where we can just make phone calls, but a lot of the time it's literally walking the street, driving the street, and just leapfrogging after each other to follow whatever we're looking for, whether it's a person or a vehicle.
And in this case, quite a bit of video was gathered?
Yes, ma'am. And
did Detective Mogg sort of take control of the video, essentially, and start compiling it in a chronological manner?
Yes.
Now, on September the 5th, did you learn something in terms of forensic evidence that you had in this case?
We did. We learned.
And what was that?
That there was a foreign DNA detected under Jeff Gehrman's fingernails.
At that time, did you know who that foreign DNA belonged to?
No, they ran it in the systems, our local and I think state CODIS system, and it returned with negative results.
And those are databases with known DNA profiles in them?
Correct.
And so you had requested that foreign DNA be run in those databases, but there was no response or no match.
Correct.
Okay, how's that?
So once you have that foreign DNA, do you draft a search warrant in order to get a DNA sample from Mr. Tellis?
I did.
And that was based on sort of the video evidence that kind of tracked a Yukon going to Mr. Gehrman's residence and then back in the area of Mr. Tellis's neighborhood,
Yes.
and as well as other facts that you had developed in the case in terms of their tense relationship and the fact that he had that kind of Yukon?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you drafted that search warrant, do you recall, like, was it day, night, or when you got that signed?
That would have been in the 2 o'clock hour, in the like 0200 hours on September 6th, 2022. With investigations like this, we typically work very, very, very long hours. So I know we had been there all day and all throughout the night. Now it's about 2 o'clock in the morning when I was able to complete the search warrant and send it off to get signed.
And when you say get signed, who reviews that?
A district attorney reviews it, and then a district court judge reviews them.
And so without a judge signing off on it, you're unable to complete a search?
Correct.
The search for September 7th, was that for Mr. Tellis's house to get a DNA sample and also to collect his phone?
Yes, it was.
Okay. At some point, do you learn that Mr. Tellis has been pulled over on September the 7th?
Yes, and that was the same morning. I think I misspoke a moment ago and said the 6th, but it was into the 7th.
Okay.
The morning.
To be clear, the warrant signed at like 2 in the morning on the 7th?
Correct.
And then he's pulled over so to effectuate that warrant about 5 hours later?
About, yeah.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Detective Gaddis, I'm showing you what's been marked as states 214 through 216. Just tell me if you recognize those.
Yes, ma'am.
Do those appear to be pictures of the area where Mr. Tellis was pulled over on the morning of September the 7th?
Correct.
Because
It
I
is.
haven't started
State
talking
moves to
yet.
admit 214 through 216.
Objection.
I'm putting on the overhead states 214.
Were you able to hear
That
that at
appears
all?
to be the car, is that the car that Mr. Tellis was driving that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it patrol officers that pull him over?
Correct.
Where are you when they pull him over?
Asleep.
At your house?
Yes.
Okay. Do you get a notification that he's been pulled over?
Correct.
And what do you do?
Okay,
I
just a
got in
minute.
my car and drove out to the intersection that he was stopped at.
Okay. When you get to that intersection, do you try to make contact with Mr. Tellis?
I did.
And did you record your conversations with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you explain to him that you had a search warrant for his DNA?
Yes, I did.
And did
about
you tell him
now?
that you were
Can
going
you
to go
hear
get, or
my
have
voice?
someone get him a copy of the warrant so he could have it?
Correct.
Way loud.
At
My
some point,
goodness.
do you explain to him that you'll be taking photographs of him without his clothing on and suggest that you go to a different location?
Correct. I didn't want to do that on the side of the road.
Okay. And is the location that you agree to with Mr. Tellis the Summerlin Area Command?
That is correct.
When you are going to the Summerlin Area Command, do you arrange for a crime scene analyst to come and take that buckle swab and also take photographs of Mr. Tellis?
Yes, I did.
And was that Jennifer Manning?
Correct.
You go, I assume, to
Headed
Summerlin Area
into
Command
the
with
red
him?
on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
meter.
And does Ms. Manning show up,
is
take
never a good
photographs,
thing.
and take a sample from him?
Yes.
Now, once you have that DNA sample, had you made any kind of arrangements for the DNA to be tested kind of immediately?
We did. We asked CSA Manning just to drive directly back to the lab to give it to the forensic scientists.
And is that is that unusual to have like a sample taken and DNA turned around that fast?
Oh,
This
yes.
is
I've
good
never
as we
seen one
got,
come back
baby.
that fast.
Okay, and that was because
I
this is
don't
sort of
have
a dynamic
anything
investigation,
different
so
than-
Absolutely.
it was needed to be a priority.
And what I
Yes, it
use,
was.
this is what I
Now,
used for
while you're
my
collecting,
videos
well,
for
you're
years.
sort of there, but
So
the crime
I
scene
don't
analyst is
know
collecting the buccal
exactly
swab and the clothing.
the issue is.
Were other detectives effectuating a search warrant at Mr. Tellis's house?
Yes,
And that house is on Spanish Steps?
correct.
I'm putting on the overhead what's been admitted as states 217. I know you weren't doing the search warrant, but do you recognize that location?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
That is Mr. Tejas' house.
Okay. Now, I'm going to just zoom in. Do you see security cameras on his house?
Yes, I do.
Could you
They are
circle them with your mouse?
right over here.
Okay. So those are present on the day of the search warrant, which is the 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to put on the overhead what's been admitted as states 348. Back out here. And do you recognize that location?
Yeah, that's the same house.
Okay. Do you see whether or not there are security cameras there?
And there are not.
Okay.
Majestic
So
right
some,
now, so
and the surveillance
in there.
photos that that I just had up, those were taken on September the 1st?
That last one, yes, I believe so.
Okay.
getting an error that is
After
not
collecting samples from and
sending
clothing
enough
from Mr.
information
Tellis, do yourself
YouTube.
and Detective
So, hold
Jaffe
on, I
take him
need to
back to
change
his
some
residence
settings.
at some point?
Yes, we did later that afternoon.
Okay. Now, while you're still at Summerlin Area Command, do other detectives advise you of items that were found in the course of the search warrant?
Yes, I was getting updates throughout the day.
What sort of items were noteworthy that you recall that they found?
They called and told me that they found a pair of cut-up tennis shoes that looked like what the suspect was wearing on the video that we collected. They said that they had also located a satchel shoulder bag that looked the same as what was seen on the suspect, and there was a hat. It was a straw hat. Then they said that also had been cut up in numerous pieces as well.
So you kind of knew that at some point while you're at the Summerlin Area Command?
Yes, I did.
Now, and at some point, you and Detective Jaffe take
Okay, so
Mr.
I
Tellis
turned
back to
down
his house,
Yes, ma'am.
and
volume on the
he's free to
trial
go back in
and-
his house.
Correct.
At the time he was
How does
free to go
my-
back in
how
his
does my
house, did you
voice
have any
sound
DNA
coming
confirmation
through?
results yet?
No,
How long after you let
I
him go
can't
back in
listen
his
to
house do
myself.
you think you got the
less than an hour.
Okay.
I
At that point, is the
if I could listen to
determination made we're going to
myself.
arrest him?
Correct.
I would
When
need you
Mr.
to open up
Tellis
the
was
browser
in the house
take
and
a look at the trial
ultimately
tape.
officers go in and take custody of him and he's injured himself, are you present for any of that?
I was not.
Where were you at the time that was going on?
After I dropped him off at his home, Mr. Tejas, I took Detective Jaffe back to his vehicle, which was at Summerlin Area Command, and then I drove to Metro Headquarters. With what we had found at the house that day, I was preparing arrest paperwork for Mr. Tejas, so I drove back to the office to start my declaration.
Yeah, if that works. I mean,
declaration of arrest.
Okay. And so, because you have to write a report or a declaration of arrest in order to effectuate an arrest?
Correct.
Okay. So, at some point after he's taken into custody, you got that phone that belonged to him, that was taken from him on September the 7th as well?
His phone, it was inside the Tesla.
Okay.
That was at the traffic stop, and so we did a follow-up search warrant for that to get the phone, yes.
So you did a follow-up warrant getting judicial authorization to go into that phone. Did you also do another search warrant on September the 8th at an office?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. That was at the public administrator's office.
And that was the offices of where Mr. Tellis was working?
Correct.
And was a computer collected on the 8th as well?
There was several.
Now, Detective, or may I put Your Honor? Thank you. Detective Gaddis, I'm showing you what's been marked as states 355. Do you recognize what this is?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Is it labeled an extraction report?
It is.
And is it a report that came from a download of Mr. Tellis's phone?
Yes.
State moves to admit 355.
No objection.
And this includes messaging between Mr. Tellis and Mr. Gehrman?
volume
Correct.
for
I want to
the
move
live stream. If I got this set right.
to page 4. Can you see that on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The date of that message is what? The,
May 15th, 2022.
okay. And so it kind of corresponds with one of the news articles? Is that yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what does it say?
It says that I don't know what to say. I told you about how much this has all impacted me. You heard from employees who are being harassed by these people. Provided you prove that I was doing my best to actually smooth things over after I had to make hard decisions, still you wrote an article that makes it sound like I'm the guilty one. That was not fair or balanced.
And then there's another message here in the middle.
He says, I'm very distraught right now. Clearly, there are typos in my message.
And then there's one towards the bottom.
Yeah, and it's still the same day, May 15th, 2022. It says, I've done so much for that office. I told you that I've been followed and that I caught Rita following me. You decided to take it on her word that she wasn't. However, clearly she was. It seems to me that you valued sensationalism or the value of a potential takedown than actually telling the truth. Thank you for helping him to drop more pressure on my life.
Okay. Was there a digital version of one of the articles that Mr. Gehrman wrote about Mr. Tellis?
What do you mean a digital version?
Like a version that had an attached
a
video
clip, yes.
Okay. And sorry, Sarah, but could you move us over? Thank you.
The Clark County Public Administrator's Office has been mired in turmoil and internal dissension for 2 years, with workers claiming emotional stress, bullying, and favoritism. Robert Tellis, who leads the office, has also faced allegations of an inappropriate relationship with a coworker, Roberta Lee Kennett. In an interview with Review Journal investigative reporter Jeff Gehrman, Tellis disputed several complaints.
What is your reaction to the allegations from these employees that you have created a hostile environment in this office?
I earlier introduced you to the other 7 team members, and they're folks who all come with a great attitude, and they work hard. And together, them and I, we are what is making the difference with the performance of this office. I've done my best to try to make everyone happy, but again, it's got to be within a certain framework. People just cannot before who were basically trying to railroad me. And again, you met those other folks. You know, they're happy, they're dedicated, and we're just here to do a good job.
Tellez, who's up for re-election in the June primary, blames a handful of old-timers for claims about a hostile environment in the office.
Again, no matter what type of gestures I try to make to smooth things over, to make sure that they're happy, you know, they just don't, you know, it's nonstop. And again, like I said, it's hard for me
Hold on a second, babe.
to make sure that I am a cheerleader for the folks who are doing really good work when I've got these other folks who are constantly, you know,
Change this around a
surveilling me,
bit
constantly
because
trying to
you to be
sabotage
able
the office. But, you know, we're doing it. But
to see on the big
it's hard.
screen what
Tellez
people are
denied
gonna see.
allegations of
Chat
any
is a
improper
little bit
relationship with Lee Kennett.
And when you hear people raising these allegations about you and quote, you know, personal relationship that you have, what do you say to people about that?
Honestly, it's not true. Like I said, I'm, you know, all of my friends, all my family know how much I love my wife. And if you look at, you know, obviously you can't talk to the people I do with on a daily basis. You know, but from my social media, from everything, you can see that I am about nothing but justice, fairness, and just being a good person. And it sickens me, it destroys me that somebody would even level like accusations like that, because I don't know, it's unreal. It's unreal the lengths that they're going to. They don't have any qualms trying to ruin my personal life to win this race.
The Clark County Public Administrator's Office had
wasn't fair, those appear to be in response to that published article.
Correct.
Now, you, fair to say, went through a lot of aspects of Mr. Tellis's phone, is that?
I don't understand why it's buffering so bad. It's dropping frames like crazy.
Accurate. Did you look at his search history of news articles?
Yes, it did.
And generally, were there searches regarding Mr. Garriman and himself?
Yes, there were.
This is states 356. And that's part of the search criteria, Jeffrey Garriman, Las Vegas?
Correct.
And so you would have noted that as you examined the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Certainly on my end too. I get to check out some of these settings. It shouldn't be doing that.
Did you also look to the phone to see if you could find items of clothing?
Yes, I did.
I'm putting on the overhead states 360. Do you recognize, well, it's been admitted as 360.
Yes.
Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, I do.
Is that an extraction report from Mr. Tellis's phone?
That's correct.
And what are those thumbnail
Jeez. Can't even open up another window.
pictures that we see?
Like, what is the actual image of?
Yep.
It is an image of a gray Nike shoe with a black and white on it. There's also a rock climbing shoe in that image, and it looks like an ankle and a sock, like as if somebody was just switching out their shoes.
And that was found in Mr. Tellis's phone.
Correct.
And does this appear to be a bigger version than the thumbnail version?
Yes.
Now, why was that significant?
Because those shoes are identical to the ones that the suspect wore as he was walking in the neighborhood. neighborhood on video.
Okay, and those shoes were, were they found somewhere too?
That is correct.
Where were they found?
Those shoes were found inside Rob Hayes' house, and one of them was cut up into pieces.
And this is states 228. That appears to be the shoe?
Yes, ma'am.
And those were tested for DNA as well, correct?
Correct.
Now, did Mr. Tellis take screenshots of articles written by Mr. Gehrman?
Yes, he did.
And were those stored on his phone as well?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing. May I approach, Your Honor? I'm showing you what's been marked as state's proposed 350. Ask you to look through that.
I should have worn my glasses today.
Do you want mine?
No, that's okay. I can see. Yeah.